Hey everybody, I'm a huge nerd. I'm trans. Hey everybody, I'm 21. I'm not 21. I'm terrible at editing, so this is just gonna be choppy jumpy, but let's go. Hey everybody, I'm Magic Mage, and this is Cubbyhole Confessions. I noticed since the beginning of my transition that it's kind of hard to find information online as a transgender person trying to sort of figure out what it is that we're supposed to be doing out there in the world once we come to terms with who we are as people. So I wanted to make a vlog that would help people like me and people who have already gone through their transitions and even people who just have questions about transgender individuals have some information that is a little bit hard to come by. I definitely want to touch base on the fact that my story and really anyone else's story is not going to be specific to you. But I'm hoping that by sharing my story, I'll be able to help you find your own. What I want to focus on today are questions that transgender individuals get quite often, or questions that people are told not to ask transgender individuals. So if you see a transgender individual, or you are a transgender individual, and you don't know the answer to these questions, it can be hard to find the answers because everywhere it tells you you should not be asking those questions. So let us open our book of transgender related questions. I have a whole book, isn't that great? What is transgender? Simply put, a transgender individual is a person who feels uncomfortable in the sex or gender they were assigned at birth. This can apply to people who would have been male or female biologically, and this can also apply to individuals who are intersex and may have had operations when they were younger that actually didn't coincide with their internal gender. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty stuff because everyone has their own opinion on what transgenderism is. But at the very bottom line, it's just individuals who do not feel comfortable with the gender they were assigned and they wish to transition to a different gender. So this begs the question, what is cisgender? I don't like the word cisgender. I find that it has been used to make people who are cisgender, people who are comfortable with their gender or sex, feel bad about themselves because automatically, as being a cisgender person, they are somehow oppressing transgender people. That is not necessarily true. However, the bottom line cisgender definition is a person who is comfortable with their sex or gender, whatever they were assigned at birth. As I said, I don't really like using that word. People say that if we don't have a word, it turns it into a them versus the transgender community sort of situation. But because of the connotations that the word has had put upon it, it's a less comfortably acceptable word. Are you gay? Well, in my case, yeah. I'm bisexual and I'm leaning more towards men, which is and completely opens an entirely new box of, well, then why don't you just stay your own gender? It doesn't. We'll go get into that later, farther down the road. But just because a person is transgender doesn't necessarily mean that they are gay. If a person is transgender, it is completely about their gender and not their sexuality. Gender, sex, and sexuality are three very different things, and it all gets quite complicated, but at the core of it, gender is a cultural creation, sex is a biological assignment, which you were given in the womb, and sexuality is not about you internally, it's about you externally. So who you want to interact with sexually and on a partner basis. You're going to find actually that a lot of transgender individuals aren't gay because the statistics of people who are gay versus people who are straight, the majority of transgender people are actually not going to be gay, they're going to be straight. Why can't you just keep it at home? I understand you're uncomfortable and you don't want to see it, but we all have to deal with things that we don't want to see on a day-to-day basis, and the most mature thing you can do is look away. As for why I'm not going to keep it at home, when I'm at home, I'm actually the most comfortable. There's no one here to misgender me. There's no one here to tell me that I'm wearing a shirt that doesn't make me look male. There's like, I can be myself when I'm at home, and I actually, if I could just exist in my own little bubble of self, I don't know if I would actually feel the need to transition as much as I do, because to me and myself, I'm male. But to everyone on the outside, I'm not. And that sort of is what spurs the want to transition, besides wanting to, you know, be able to look in a mirror and actually like yourself. I don't have any mirrors in my room because I hate looking at myself in the mirror. There's mirrors all over the world, so if I'm going to be out and about with all the evil mirrors, I might as well feel comfortable looking into them. So I'm not going to keep it at home, and you can look away if you don't like it. It's not my business whether or not you like something that I'm doing, but it's also not your business what other people are doing in their lives. It doesn't affect you, and if you have the automatic reaction of, well, how am I supposed to know what that person's gender is? Chances are they don't want to know you anyways. You don't have to worry about it. What is your real name? A wise man once said that names are things other people give you. There are children out there who their parents named them, and then a couple of months after having named them, they decided they didn't like that name and they changed it again. When you meet a new person, do you automatically go up to them and say, hey, what was your real name? No. So it doesn't matter. If a person says to you, hello, my name is blank, that's their real name. You want to give yourself a new name, that's fine. People do it all the time, not just transgender individuals. Look at any celebrity out there. They all had a name. They've all, mostly all, changed it to something that sort of came off of the tongue a lot easier. Some of them, they completely changed their name. They have no connection to what their old name was. So my real name is the name I tell you, and your real name is the name you tell me, and I'm not going to question your name, so please do not question mine. The bathroom. So this is a big one. People freak out about it all the time. On both sides, everyone does. You have transgender people who say, no, it's fine, I'd rather be in a separate bathroom. You have transgender people who say, by putting me in a separate bathroom, you are separating me out and you are making me more uncomfortable. And there are transgender people who will, on any given day, not use the bathroom for hours and hours at a time until they can get home and feel safe. And you have the cisgender individual side, which usually you end up hearing things like, oh, they're going to go into our bathrooms and molest our children because all transgender people are apparently molesters, and them being transgender magically makes it so that it's not against the law to molest a child, which doesn't make any sense at all. I actually have no idea how that argument came to be, but here's my answer to the question. Most people are not going to spend their entire life thinking about people on the outside and how people feel or think. I, as an individual, do not like making other people uncomfortable. So I will either find a single cell washroom or I will wait until the washroom is empty. Most people don't care what you have to say about them or their actions. They do not care. You don't care about other people you see walking down the street every day. It's the same way for anyone else. They're gonna want to use the washroom, and you really don't have a right to tell a person not to use the washroom. There are serious medical repercussions to not letting someone use the washroom. From my point of things, I think single stall washrooms are actually really important because it makes it easier for me personally to not have to make the choice of, oh my god, do I go and interrupt a bunch of people and freak them out, or do I just go and do what I need to do? But I have a very strong connection to people around me, even if I have no idea who they are, and so I don't really think it should be required of a person to go into that bathroom if they don't want to. Also, have you seen any actual, unrefutable evidence of a transgender individual? And 99.9% of the time, it's about transgender women going into a bathroom with the intent to molest someone. I haven't heard any stories about it. I've heard of people that go into a washroom and say, I am transgender, and they obviously were only in there to cause trouble, but if there's a person in your bathroom causing trouble, call the police or security. Like, it doesn't matter what their gender is. If they're being an asshole, kick them out. It shouldn't be that big of an issue, but every time something new starts happening in the world, it always goes back to, won't somebody save the children? And you're not actually interested in saving the children. We all know that. But honestly, We just need to go to the bathroom like every other person on the planet. Sorry, not really. The operation questions. Have you had the operation? Do you have a penis? Do you have a vagina? Where are your boobs? Do your boobs grow? None of your business. Really. Any transgender individual you meet could be in any stage of their transition. I, for one, have only gone into like the immediate things. I don't have anything medical figured out yet. I don't have anything like that. But there are people who have gone through their entire transition, and it's still none of your business. Unless it's a person that you're going to be sleeping with. When you meet a transgender individual, just like when you meet any other individual, it is none of your business what goes on under their clothes. Unless you've been invited, you have no business under any person's clothes besides your own. Unless you uninvited yourself, in which case, I don't know, wear clothes all the time. It's not my business. Pre-transition stuff. Why haven't you transitioned yet? What are you waiting for? Transitioning is so expensive. I live in Canada. I'm lucky. And I'm not as lucky as I could be because it still costs me just to go and see the psych person required to be approved to take hormone replacement therapy. It costs me over $100 every time I go in. I have to go in for a minimum of 3 appointments, and I have to be able to pay $200 for a letter that this person is going to write to my doctor. And then I have to go back to my doctor, get the prescription, pay for my prescriptions, and then at some point, maybe in the next 2 years, I might be able to have a chest reduction surgery, but the waiting list goes on and on and on. The reason why a person hasn't transitioned, it entirely depends on the individual. For my case, it's because I'm poor. For other people, it's things like they don't feel comfortable with surgery, or maybe it's not possible in the environment they're in right now. I have an extremely accepting family. I went to Japan, I came back, I went there and I'm like, I'm gonna be the best chick ever. And then I got there and I was like, I am not a chick, because just seeing in myself in what I was able to internally dig up in Japan, I was able to figure out I was doing it wrong. Then I was able to come home and tell my parents and my family, and they were completely okay with it, but that doesn't apply to other people. And some people, if they're online and they might represent themselves online as transgender, that doesn't mean they've been able to come out to the people around them, which severely stunts their ability to transition. The bottom line is it's not really your business, but there are a lot of circumstances that can surround a person and their transitions, and not every person has the money to blow on stuff like that. You could pay rent and eat, or you could be more comfortable with your body, but you'll be homeless and starving. Regret. I see this a lot. People trying to bring up statistics of, 17% of transitioned people feel bad about it and want to go back. To be completely honest, I don't care. Those are completely different people, and they're not me. And I mean, I could tell you about the one time a guy went out and killed hundreds of people because he was a bad person. That doesn't mean that every single guy out there, that percentage of people that would go out there and kill people, represents the vast percentage of people that wouldn't. You can't really take the statistics from other people unless it's medical statistics, things like 59% of people get cancer. You might want to try not getting cancer. That's different. But this is, you're talking about people's psychology, and I find that a lot of people, they think they can sort of armchair, you can't really say armchair because psychologists sit in an armchair. I guess keyboard psychologist people, because they think they know themselves. But every single person is completely different, and even if there's a person out there that mysteriously lives the same life as you, they have a different brain and they have a different insights, and chances are they think differently than you do, and they have different thoughts. It doesn't matter how close two people are, they're still completely different people. So the fact of the matter is, I may come to regret it, but I'm feeling a hell of a lot better about myself now than I was 2 years ago. And this is a chance for me to feel better about myself. I'm pretty much prepared for the regret if it ever comes, but it's not going to. And again, it's not your job to police other people's actions. Please take care of yourself but other people around you, unless they ask for it, they don't really need your help. You're not doing them a favor by badgering them about who they should be. So that's the end of the questions that I was able to turn up that people often ask transgender individuals, or questions that people say people should not ask transgender individuals. If anyone has questions, please put them down in the comments section down below. If there's more than one of you, maybe there's only one of you, in which case you put your question down below. Anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and weekend. This was me, Magic Mage. This is the Cubbyhole Confessional, and I will see you next time.